Welcome to the Introduction to RSD training by Asylum Access Thailand. Today, we're talking about the Refugee Status Determination process, or what we call RSD. RSD includes many different steps. There's no set time frame for the entire RSD process, and the length of time for each case is different. You can talk to a case officer at AAT to get an idea of the average wait time for your case. The first step is to apply to the UNHCR office in Thailand and seek to be registered as an asylum seeker. You can drop your contact details and documents into UNHCR's Dropbox outside their office. After some weeks, UNHCR will call you to come for a registration interview. If UNHCR does not call you within 8 weeks, please come to see a case officer at AAT who can assist you. You will be told you should write a registration statement. This is a statement that is about 3 to 4 pages long and gives a summary of the main reasons you fled your country. You can write this statement in your own language.
Why did you leave your country? And why are you afraid to go back to your country? What do you think will happen if you go back to your country, and why? Has something happened to you in the past that you fear will happen again? Please include a summary of all incidents that happened to you which led you to fleeing your country. It is a good idea to write this before you go for your registration interview, so you have time to think about what you want to say. If you're unable to read and write, UNHCR can help you write your statement during your registration interview. When you write your own statement, it is very important that you're clear and honest in what you say. If UNHCR later finds that you have contradicted what was said in your registration statement, this can be a problem for your case, and it could affect your credibility. We will talk about credibility later in the training. If you have submitted a registration statement that you did not write yourself or understand, and you said something in that statement that is not true or clear, you can write another statement and submit it later. If you are not sure what to write in your registration statement and later think you missed an important incident, you can write another statement and submit it to the UNHCR. If you're unsure, you can visit a case officer at Asylum Access to talk about things you think you should have included in the registration statement.
After this, you will issue with UNHCR card. It is important to keep this card in good condition. Keep it with you at all times and make sure that you renew this card before it expires. After registration, you will be given a date for your RSD interview. The RSD interview is when UNHCR will assess whether or not you are a refugee. The length of time to wait of RSD interview varies. You can talk to a case officer from Asylum Access to get an idea of the average wait time.
After you complete your RSD interview, you will need to wait for a decision. Again, the wait time for this decision varies, and you can talk to a case officer to find out the average wait time. Once a decision is made, UNHCR will inform you whether you have been recognized as a refugee or your application has been rejected. If you are recognized as a refugee, you may then be considered for resettlement to a third country. Note that not all recognized refugees will be deemed eligible for resettlement. UNHCR does not consider resettlement to be a right. Generally, individual countries like the United States and Canada offer a small number of places to UNHCR to resettle refugees who are in need of resettlement. These countries will make an independent determination to see whether you are eligible for resettlement to their country. UNHCR does not make this decision, and they cannot force a country to resettle you. If you are found to be eligible for resettlement, you will go through a separate resettlement process with the country's embassy in Thailand. Note that during that time, you are still considered illegal by the Thai authorities and therefore still cannot work legally and are still at risk of arrest and detention.
If your application is rejected, you'll be given a letter explaining why, and you'll have 30 days to submit an appeal. If you do not submit an appeal, your case will be closed. In limited circumstances, a case can be reopened. However, this is not an easy process. If this happens, Asylum Access can explain your options, so please visit or call us. Now we will talk about the definition of a refugee. This is very important to understand because UNHCR will assess your case based on whether you meet all parts of the refugee definition. But before we begin, I want to give you a little background of where the definition of a refugee comes from. The definition of a refugee is found in the 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 protocol relating to the status of refugees. This is also what we call the UN Refugee Convention. During World War II, an event called the Holocaust resulted in the death of about 6 million Jewish people. A total of 11 million people from different minority backgrounds tragically died during the Holocaust. Millions of people fled from Europe to escape persecution. As a response to the event of World War II, many different countries formed what we now call the United Nations. In 1951, some members of the United Nations signed the UN Refugee Convention, which says that people fleeing persecution in their home country should be given international protection. The UN Refugee Convention includes a definition of a refugee to help determine who requires international protection. The UNHCR is part of the UN, who is the guardian of the UN Refugee Convention. Thailand is not a signatory to the UN Refugee Convention. This means it is the UNHCR's job to conduct the RSD process and determine who fits the definition of a refugee. Asylum seekers and refugees do not have any special protection in Thailand. Thai authorities consider foreigners without a valid visa as illegal immigrants. This also applies to asylum seekers and refugees. Asylum seekers and refugees, therefore, do not have the right to work and are at the risk of being arrested and detained. Thailand very rarely deports asylum seekers, refugees, or in fact, even closed cases. Thailand appears to accept in practice the principle of non-refoulement, which is a principle of customary international law. However, in some rare and very politically sensitive cases, Thailand may deport asylum seekers and refugees.
In assessing your case, UNHCR will determine whether you meet the definition of a refugee. It is important for you to understand the definition of a refugee in order for you to determine which parts of your case will be important to UNHCR. We've divided the definition of a refugee into 8 key elements. You have to meet all 8 key elements in order to be recognized as a refugee. The first element: you are outside of your country. International protection can only apply to you if you are outside of your country of citizenship. The second element: you are genuinely afraid to return to your home country. You fear going back to your country. The third element: you have a good, believable reason to be afraid. In addition to having a genuine fear of going back to your country, you also have to have a good and believable reason to be afraid. This means that your reason to be afraid has to be credible. You must have a well-founded fear. The fourth element. What you are afraid of is something really serious. This has to be more than just being discriminated against or being harassed. What you're afraid of amounts to loss of life, torture, rape, loss of freedom, or a pattern of treatment that makes your life intolerable. The fifth element. You are singled out for this type of treatment because of your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or your membership in a particular social group. In this element, you have to show that the reason you are being treated badly is connected to either your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or your membership in a particular social group. It is not enough that you are being treated badly or that you have been harmed. You have to show that this treatment is connected to what we call a convention reason. The sixth element. The government has harmed you, or the government cannot or will not protect you. You must show either that the government has directly harmed you, or if you have not been directly harmed by the government, you have to show that the government is not willing to protect you or cannot protect you. The seventh element. You have to show that it is not reasonable for you to move and be safe in another part of your country. It is not enough to show that you cannot live in a particular city or town. You have to show that if you go back to your country, there's nowhere safe for you to live. Or if there is somewhere safe to live in your country, that is unreasonable to expect you to move to that place. The eighth element. You have to show that if you return to your home country, you will face a future risk of serious harm. If you have been harmed in the past, this is important to tell UNHCR. However, you still need to show that if you return to your home country, you will likely face serious harm again.
Let's go over the element of refugee definition again. First, you're out of your country. Second, you're generally be afraid to return to your country. Third, you have a good, believable reason to be afraid. Fourth, what you are afraid of is something really serious. Fifth, you are seeking out for this type of treatment because there is something different about you from the rest of the people in your country. Sixth, the government has harmed you, or the government cannot or will not protect you. 7. This is not reasonable for you to move to another part of your country where you can be safe. 8. And you have to show that if you return to your home country, you will face a future risk of serious harm. That's the end of this section. Now you know the element of refugee definition. Take a quiz after this section. See you again in next module. Welcome back. Now you know how UNHCR is assessing your case. Let's talk about how Asylum Access Thailand can help you. AAT is completely independent of UNHCR. AAT is not connected to UNHCR or any other service provider in Thailand or the Thai government. AAT has confidentiality rule. Everything that you tell AAT will be kept confidential by us, including our interpreter. It will also be kept confidential from other members of your family, even if you have the same claim and same case number. We will meet with each client alone, even if you come to the office with other family members. We will not share anything between family members unless you give us explicit permission to do so.
AAT has 3 teams working in 3 areas: the legal services team, community outreach team, and the policy advocacy team. All our services are free of charge. The first area we will discuss is legal services. AAT provides free advice and information about the RSD process. We will never charge you to use our services. Many of our staff are volunteers, meaning they're not being paid. AAT does not assign everyone their own case officer. Not every person who accesses AAT's services will be allocated their own case officer. Because of limited resources, AAT does not have the capacity to assign everyone their own case officer. But just because you do not have your own case officer does not mean we cannot help you. We offer training to as many people as possible, and it is one of the main ways we help our clients. We also have a walk-in day legal clinic once a week, where anyone can come to our office and talk to a case officer for around 15 to 20 minutes. In some cases, AAT will allocate an asylum seeker their own case officer to assist with their case. This is not possible with everyone because AAT has very limited capacity, so AAT has strict criteria to assess if you qualify. And finally, we try to assist refugees or asylum seekers who are having protection issues in Thailand. AAT keeps a record of every time you visit, what was discussed, and any documents you have submitted. This way, you can speak to any one of the case officers when you come in, and they will be able to help you. The second area is community outreach. The community outreach team provides information and training on non-legal issues that may be relevant and helpful to AAT clients. For example, community outreach can connect you with service providers that can help you with medical, financial, or housing issues.
Policy Wakalat.
The third area is policy advocacy. Policy involves advocating on behalf of asylum seekers and refugees with the governments and international bodies to make refugee rights a reality in Thailand. This is the end of this module. Now take a quick break to take a quiz. I'll see you in the next module.
Congratulations, you have reached final module for this training video. In this module, we will talk about accelerate processing. In very rare and exceptional case, UNHCR may accelerate a person case. UNHCR has strict criteria for acceleration. This is because when a case is accelerated, another person's case may be postponed. This means most asylum seekers will have to wait for their interview. The criteria for acceleration may differ over time. You should contact AAT to make sure that you have up-to-date information about UNHCR acceleration criteria.
Asylum seekers and refugees can add other people to their cases. This is what we call family unity. If someone is added to your case, they will be granted what we call derivative or dependent status. They will enjoy the same rights and entitlements as the principal applicant. An example of this might be if one of your children under the age of 18 was in your home country and came to Thailand after you. Or if you marry another asylum seeker while you're here and you wish to join your cases. UNHCR will want to check that combining your cases is something that both parties individually want and that it is appropriate in the circumstances. Sometimes, before joining your cases, UNHCR will ask each party to go through the RSD process first. This means that you will have to complete your RSD interview and receive a decision first. This usually occurs when a husband or wife comes to Thailand later. It does not happen for children under the age of 18 unless they want to express their own claim for refugee status. If only one of the persons has been recognized as a refugee, then the person who has not been recognized can join the case of the person who has been recognized as a refugee and be that person's dependent or derivative. You may also be required to attend a family unity interview where UNHCR will assess whether your relationship is genuine. At this interview, UNHCR will assess the nature and duration of the relationship, the living arrangements in the home country and in Thailand, any legal, financial, or social responsibilities assumed by the principal applicant, and any special vulnerabilities by the applicant for derivative or dependent status.
If you have a family member, such as a spouse, parent, child, or other close relative, in another country where it is safe for you to live, you can look into being sponsored to join them. Different countries have different visa systems, so you will need to find an immigration lawyer in the country you want to go to and ask them to help you. AAT case officers cannot help you apply for family sponsorships because it is not part of the RSD process. You can ask your family members to research this from the country they live. They can find out if it is possible to apply. Family sponsorship does not affect your claim for refugee status with UNHCR. It is a completely different path that you may want to pursue if it is an option for you.
This is the end of the training. If you have any question about RSD process or any of topic discussed in this training video, please contact us.
Don't forget to take the final quiz. Thank you and goodbye.
ขอบคุณค่ะ